Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use RefWorks, which is an online citation tool that you can use whenever you need to create a works cited, bibliography, reference list, works consulted, whatever your teacher is requiring for your project in order to give credit to where your information, where your sources came from. You will use our subscription to RefWorks. So to get to RefWorks, you're going to go into your address bar at the top of your browser and you will type in refworks.proquest.com. And that will bring you to the sign-in page that we're looking at here. The important thing to remember when accessing RefWorks from this sign-in page is that you will not enter anything here for email address or password. On this login screen, we are skipping all of this and coming down instead to where it says use login from my institution. So again, do not enter anything here. Instead, come down to the dark blue button and click on use login from my institution. From here, if we start typing Cherry Hill, you'll see that Cherry Hill High School East comes up as an option for us to click on. And from this screen, mine let me write in. However, you will probably get to a screen that looks similar to this, where you will need to authenticate that you are a Cherry Hill East student who has the right to use our subscription to RefWorks. Here you will type in your 7-digit ID number. Remember to not put in anything else, only your 7-digit number. Do not include at chclc.org for your username here. And for a password, you will type in the same password that you use for all your other school-related things down here where it says password. Once you've done that, you may get to an additional screen within RefWorks where it does ask you to enter an email address. This will only happen the very first time when you go to create your RefWorks account. So if you are asked on the next screen in RefWorks to enter an email address, there you will put your ID number at chclc.org. But again, it should be only one time that you have to do that. Okay, so now we are signed into RefWorks, and you should be looking at a screen similar to mine. Up here, the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do once you're in RefWorks is to come to this little arrow next to the name of your project that you're working on. So if this is your very first time in RefWorks, it probably says Untitled Project or something like that up here on the top left. We're going to click on the arrow and we're going to come down to Manage Projects. First thing that you're going to do is you're going to create a new project for whatever it is that we are working on today in RefWorks. So I'm going to click Create New Project. I'm going to call mine Pandemic Research, and then I'm going to hit Save. And now my new project will come up in my list, and then I can click on the name of the project itself, and you'll see that now in RefWorks I am working in this specific project. So any references, any sources that I add will show up here in my pandemic research project. There are a couple of different ways that you can add your resources now to RefWorks. The first is to enter the information, to type the information in manually. You would use this method if you are citing a physical book that you have or a website that is not one of our library resources, or other items where you do not have a way to import the citation information into RefWorks. I'm going to talk in a moment about how you can import citations directly from our library databases and our library resources. But if you are looking to add a reference that is not from the library, you would click on the Add button. And from here, you would create a new reference. That's going to open up a screen over here on the right where you can then select the type of resource that you are adding. So if you have a physical book that you are adding into RefWorks, you would click on Book, and then you would type in the information that is relevant to the book that you are using. Title, the edition, the publisher, any notes that you have about the resource that you're using, you would key in manually here. You can do artwork, you can do audio, you can do books, as I mentioned earlier, or any other items. If we come all the way down to web page, you can cite a web page. And then once you get your information keyed in here, you would simply click on Save, and you would find your resource come up here in the center. I'm going to cancel out of that for now. The next piece I would like to show you is how you can take resources from our library and very quickly and easily import the citation directly from the library sources into RefWorks without having to key all the information in manually. So I'm going to come here to a Google Doc where I have added the permalinks to some library resources that I now need to include in my reference list. If you watched the first video, you saw how to search our library's databases, how to obtain the permalinks, which will then be able to get us directly back into the articles that we are working with. So I'm going to start with this first one, click on the link, and it's going to bring me right into this article that I now need to cite. So once you are in an article from our library's databases, you want to look over here on the right-hand side for the tools, and specifically we are looking for the Cite, C-I-T-E, the Cite tool. Depending on the database that you're in, depending on the article that you're in, this menu might look a little bit different, but let me just change my view here so you can see. Sometimes you'll only see the little icons showing up here on the right. And if I hover over this one, you'll see the word cite pop up so that I know this is the citation tool that I need. I'm going to now click on Cite, and a screen comes up where I have the option in this yellow bar down here to export to bibliographic management software. Big fancy terminology that just means it's going to do the work for us to put our citation here in RefWorks. So now I'm going to come back to my article. I'm going to click on this, Export to Bibliographic Management Software. Another screen comes up, and there are a couple of different options. It should default for you to a direct export to RefWorks, which is what we're working with. If for some reason that one is not checked off, make sure that you select RefWorks as your option. And the first step, like we did already today, would be to sign into RefWorks and to open up the project. Make sure you have the project open that you're working in where you want your citation to go. If you're not already signed into RefWorks in another tab in your browser, be sure to do that prior to trying to export this citation information. That is going to be the first step to sign in and get your project ready in one of your tabs in your browser for RefWorks. And then from the library's resource, we can hit save now. It is going to open up a new tab, but it already knows that I'm signed into RefWorks. So I can click yes. And then once this one comes up, it's going to ask which project. My project that I'm working on is the option here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit import. We've saved a document in your library. Okay. And now within RefWorks, I will see that my article has been saved and all of the information has been imported for me, including a permalink that I could use to get back into this article in the future. So I'm going to close out of that for now, and here is my first source. I do have RefWorks open still over here, so I'm going to close this tab, and I'm going to close this tab for my library, my first library article, and then I will get back into my Google Doc and come to my second article that I want to include in my reference list. This is an ebook, so the menu across the top for my tools, it looks a little different than what we saw in the last article, but you'll see across the top here, I do have the Cite, C-I-T-E, Cite option as well. And again, the yellow bar comes up to export to bibliographic management software. I will hit that. RefWorks is again the default, so I can simply save and just go through these steps again. Yes, export. Yes, import it into my pandemic research project. And now I will have my 2 items saved in here. I'm going to do this one last time during this video to show you how we can link in another resource, because this one we're going to have to import into RefWorks a little bit differently. This is still from one of our library's databases. This is from the Gale Virtual Reference Library, our reference ebook collection. So I'm going to copy this address. I will open a new tab, paste that in, and we'll have to wait for it to load, but it brings me into the ebook entry that I was researching from the Gale Reference Library. Up here across the top, you see that I do have the option to cite, but it is going to work a little bit differently this time. So I'm going to click on Cite, and my MLA citation format comes up. But from here, I need to choose Download. So I need to download, and it gives me a little note here that I can download this RIS file format so that I can then use it in other types of citation reference tools like RefWorks. So I'm going to click on that to go ahead and download it. My computer will download it. Now I can close this window. And this time I'm going to come back to RefWorks. I'm going to use this Add button again. And from here, I'm going to say that I want to import my reference, which is this RIS file. And now I need to select the file from my computer. I can go to my computer, or I'm sorry, my downloads folder. So wherever your file got downloaded to, you will add this in. And then I'm going to hit import, and I'm going to say OK. And now you will see I have all 3 of my references here in RefWorks. If for some reason that downloading and importing of the RIS file does not work for you, you do have the MLA citation here that you can then retype into RefWorks manually. Unfortunately, there is not a way to simply copy and paste this into RefWorks, but if I needed to enter this manually, if that import feature was not working for some reason, I would come to Add, I would create a new reference, it would be a journal article, and then I would simply go back and forth from the information that is here and type it in to my citation information here for the article. So you will see there's no author listed, so I would start instead with copying and pasting this as the title of my article, the other information that I need as far as the journal that we're in, the database that we're using, the web address, all of that is going to be found here. Study of Science would be the name of the journal, or I'm sorry, Medical Science would be the name of the journal that this was in. And we can plug in all of the information that we need here, page numbers. It is an electronic resource. So once you had this completed, you would hit save here, and then you would get your entry over on the left here for your resource. Okay, I'm going to cancel out of this. Now we are at the point where I have my 3 resources entered into my project in RefWorks, and I am ready to actually create my bibliography or my reference list, my works cited, in the proper MLA format. I am now going to check off, I'm going to hit this to select all. I'm going to check off the 3 items that I want included in my bibliography. I'm going to click here to create bibliography. And once again, I'm going to click on Create Bibliography. It's going to default to MLA style. And you'll see I have my works cited in the proper format with my hanging indents and my permalinks and all of the information that I would need that I can then copy to my clipboard, go into my Google Docs or Google Slides, whatever your project is, or simply start a new doc where I would then be able to paste in my works cited in proper MLA format. As always, if you run into any trouble with any of this, please reach out. Myself, Ms. O'Reilly, will gladly help you with any of your researching needs. Ms. Greenblatt is our other library media specialist, and she can also assist with any of the citation or researching or library database, library related issues that may come up. You can find our email addresses on the East website or ask your teacher to help you get in touch with one of us if you need further assistance. Thank you, everybody.